Everybody knows that you can save a lot of money by buying a used car instead of a new car. But a used car isn't as attractive as a new car because somebody already used it. That's why in this video, I'm going to be going over when it makes sense to buy a new car. What's up everybody, I am Jaspreet Singh from the MinorityMindset.com, where money minds rethink rich. In the financial world, there's really only one thing that's worse than Starbucks when it comes to keeping you broke: your car. This is why you see article after article talking about why cars, especially new cars, are keeping Americans broke. I mean, even I made a video on why your car is keeping you poor. If you want to watch that video, I'll link it for you in the description below. But there's more to the story than this, because the whole point of having the minority mindset and thinking different than the majority of people isn't that way you're going to live the rest of your life being cheap and frugal and not giving yourself the luxuries that you're working so hard to be able to afford. The whole point of having this minority mindset and being financially educated is so you can live life the way you want and be able to afford all the things you want. So when it comes to cars, if you're a big fan of cars and you want to be able to own a new car, you gotta know when it makes sense to buy a new car. Let me get right into today's video. Okay, if we're talking strictly financially, when does it make sense to buy a new car? The answer is never. You are gonna way overpay when you buy a new car versus a used car. I mean, you can save 20 to 40% on your car's value just by driving a car that's 1 or 2 years old. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you can see that this video is not 1 minute long, so there must be more to it than that. Buying a new car is not the financially smart thing or the frugal thing to do. It's a luxury. You can think of it kind of like flying first class. If you were gonna fly from New York to California and you want an economy class ticket, you could do it for like $200, even less than that. But if you wanted to fly first class from New York to California, that's gonna cost you almost $900. That's a $700 difference for the exact same journey, just a different experience. If you fly on the backseat of Spirit, you're gonna get a super cheap ticket. Just make sure your backpack fits into that bin that they give you, because if it doesn't, they're gonna charge you $100 at the gate, but you're gonna get to California just like the first class ticket is gonna get you there. But it's just not going to be as nice of an experience because you're sitting on Spirit instead of first class at Delta. There's nothing wrong or shameful about taking Spirit. It's just not as comfortable. I mean, I've taken Spirit plenty of times. Last time I flew with Spirit, I flew from Philly to Detroit, and I paid for that big seat upgrade, you know, the front 2 rows where they give you the bigger seat. Paid $35 for that. And as I was about to board the plane, I gave the lady my ticket and she says, "Oh, it looks like you didn't pay for the big seat." And I said, "Yeah, I did." I showed her the confirmation on my phone. Then she's like, "Oh, we must have a glitch in our system because we gave your seat away to somebody else. So now I didn't have a seat on the plane. They made me wait until the entire plane was boarded. And then they made me sit on a random seat, and I didn't get my money back for the big seat upgrade." I still got to Detroit just fine. It just wasn't as comfortable or enjoyable of an experience. Sometimes used cars are gonna give you more headaches. I mean, that's just the game. If you are not a mechanic or if you're not a car person, you might not be able to tell what's good and what's not good, and when you start driving the car you might realize that this car needs some work. But in general, buying a used car can save you a lot of money. Like, let's say you wanted to buy yourself this brand new $50,000 car. Oh yeah, the minute you drive this car off the lot, you are gonna lose $5,000 worth of value. So in 1 minute, the value of this car is gonna drop from $50,000 to $45,000. In 1 year, the value of this car is going to drop another $5,000 to $40,000. In 2 years, so 2 years after buying this, the value of your car is going to drop to $34,000. And in 5 years, this car that you paid $50,000 for is going to drop in value to $20.5 thousand, so $20,500. If you finance this car, it's going to run you at least $600 a month. So you paid $50,000 for the car, but if you just bought it a couple years later, you could buy this once $50,000 car for just $34,000, and you can avoid paying the $600 a month. You can compare doing this to buying a used car. So to get the $600 monthly payment, I assumed that you put $6,000 down in order to buy this car. If you took that $6,000 and instead of putting it down to finance this car, let's assume you buy yourself a nice but good working $6,000 used car with cash. Now you have no monthly payments, and now you can pay yourself $600 a month. Now after a year, you're gonna have an excess extra $7,000 in your pocket that you can use with your $6,000 car to buy yourself a brand new, even nicer car. Just do the math. Instead of you paying the $600 a month to your car company or to your bank, let's assume that you're just throwing this money into your bank account, your savings account. Every single year, you're gonna throw an extra $7,000 into your bank account because this is money you don't have to pay your car company. So in 1 year, you'll have $7,000. In 2 years, you'll have just over $14,000, and you're driving a $6,000 car. When you're driving a $6,000 car that's in good working condition, it's not gonna lose that much more value in a year or two. So in 2 years, you're gonna have $14,000 worth of cash and a $6,000 car that you can sell. Now you can go out and buy yourself a $15,000, $16,000, $17,000 car with cash and not worry about making any payments. This is where some people get kind of upset and they say things like, "Oh, Jaspreet, you don't know anything about cars. If you just buy the right car, it will appreciate in value and then you can sell the car for a profit after you're done driving it." Sure, but that's the exception. That's not the rule. It's kind of like saying you can lose weight by eating at McDonald's. Yeah, in theory you could if you're weird and you eat this certain salad that they don't even have on the menu. Yeah, I'm sure you could lose weight by eating at McDonald's. But that's the exception. It's not the rule. Most of us are gonna gain weight and get fat if we eat at McDonald's every single day, just like how most people are gonna lose money on their cars by driving a new car. If we're talking strictly financially, it makes a lot of sense just to buy a car that's 2 years old because now you're getting a car that's relatively new and you're not paying top dollar for it because you're buying it at a huge discount off of what it was selling for just 2 years ago. It's still hopefully in good working condition because it's still pretty new and you're saving a whole lot of money. But that doesn't answer the question in this video because the question is, when does it make sense for you to buy a new car? In order to understand that, we really need to take a look at assets versus liabilities and understand where your car actually lies. If you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you've heard me talk about assets versus liabilities before. If you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should probably do that. But assets are things that put money into your pocket. So these are investments. These are things you buy for the sole purpose of making more money. So when you buy stocks, you buy real estate, you buy other investments, these are things you're buying for the purpose of making money. Because when you invest your money in the stock market, you're hoping that the stocks that you're buying will go up in value and make you more money. When you use money to buy real estate investments, you're buying it that way you can make passive income, cash flow, and you're probably hoping that the value of your real estate will go up too. So when you're buying assets, you're hoping that this thing that you're buying is going to go up in value and make you more money. Liabilities are the opposite. Liabilities are things that you buy that don't make you money. These are things that just take money away from you and they don't make you any money because as soon as you buy this thing, the value of the thing that you're buying is dropping like a rock. So these are things like clothes. As soon as you buy yourself a brand new $100 wardrobe, you're not gonna be able to sell it for anything near $100. This is like a vacation. If you buy yourself a $5,000 vacation, you're not making any money off of it. This is like cars, because as soon as you buy a new car, the value of the car is gonna drop like a rock. I just showed you that. So cars fall here in the liability side of things. You're driving a car for a utility. You're driving a car to get from point A to point B, and it is a liability because it's not making you any money. So what you want to do is when you're building your wealth, you want all your money here. You want to buy as many assets as possible because these are things that are going to make you wealthy. These are the things that are going to make you rich, and these are the things that are going to make you financially free, because if you're spending more of your money here, then you have more of your money coming back and you own more things that are making you more money. The mistake everybody makes is they spend their money here and they try to justify these liabilities by selling these liabilities to themselves in their brain as assets. They say, yeah, you know, this car might be able to make me some more money in the future, or if I drive a nice car, I'll be able to make more sales, or if I have a nice wardrobe, yeah, it's gonna make me look better and do better in interviews. But if we're talking strictly financially, these liabilities are not things that are going to make you more money. Sure, driving a nicer car might make you more presentable. Having a nice wardrobe might make you look better in interviews, but are they actually going to make you more money? Is your car going to make you more money? Will you be able to sell it for a profit? Chances are no. So stop trying to sell yourself these liabilities as assets and understand what an asset is and what a liability is. Right now, at the time of me recording this video, the average new car payment in the United States is $568 a month. This is absolutely absurd because you are paying interest to drive a depreciating liability. So you're paying interest, you're paying a premium to drive something that's losing you money. It makes no sense. Let's take a look at what would happen if you took this money and you put it in an asset instead. So now we're gonna say we're investing this $568 a month. After 10 years, if you threw this money in the stock market, this $568 a month that you're no longer throwing into a liability would have become $100,000 just because you're throwing this money in the stock market and getting an average return. In 20 years, your $568 investment that's not going to your car company or to your bank, that's going to your wealth, would have grown to $300,000, assuming you just get an average return. And if you did this for 45 years, if you do this until you hit retirement, this $568 monthly investment would have grown to $2 million, but you're too busy driving around in a car with a heating steering wheel. These are very real and possible numbers. I'm not giving you crazy hypotheticals. I'm assuming a very reasonable return. And all you're doing is just taking this money and not giving it to your bank and not giving it to a car company. You are investing this money into an asset instead of a liability. This car in a few years is going to be worthless. It's not going to be worth anything after 10 years or 20 years or 45 years, but this money you're investing will continue to have value because you're buying assets, and it will continue to grow assuming you're buying assets that are growing. So now, when you're talking about buying a new car, you need to understand, where are you in your financial journey? Are you okay throwing this away? Or are you okay having this? The first and should be most obvious point is if you want to buy a new car and you have to finance it because you don't have the cash to buy it outright, then you should not be buying a new car. You can't afford it. Buying a new car is the ultimate luxury, okay? It doesn't matter if you're driving a brand new Benz or a beat up Toyota. Both of these cars are going to take you to work just fine. You're not going to get to work faster, and you're not going to be more efficient in your work. Both of these things are going to take you to work. One is just going to give you a more enjoyable experience. It's kind of like flying first class. When you fly first class from New York to California, you're going to get to California just like you did with Spirit. It's just going to be a more enjoyable experience. And so now, if you want that luxury, that's fine. You just got to make sure you can afford it first, because that money that you're putting towards this luxury could be used to build your wealth. And so if you don't have that wealth built first, then you got to be using your money to build your wealth before you're buying luxuries. For the majority of Americans, you should not be driving a brand new car. That money would be much better served going into your assets, your investments, instead of a car, which is just eating your money. This is what's keeping the majority of Americans broke, because they think they can afford a brand new car, but you can only make the monthly payments. There's a big difference between being able to afford a car and being able to make the monthly payments. So if we're talking about buying a brand new car, not a used car, but a brand new car, we're talking about you buying a luxury. If you want to be able to afford these luxuries, you really need to be able to afford it and not be stretching yourself to be able to afford a luxury. So if you want to buy a brand new car, you got to follow the rule of 5. If you can't buy 5 of them, you can't afford 1 of them. So that means if you want to buy yourself a $50,000 brand new car, fine. Just make sure you can afford 5 of them. You better have the cash ready to afford $250,000 worth of cars before you can buy yourself a $50,000 car. If you don't have that kind of money, then you shouldn't be buying a brand new $50,000 car right now. Your money would be much better served going into assets being invested on your behalf. That way you could build this wealth. That way, when you want to actually buy that car, you can afford it because you have used your money to buy assets before you're throwing all this money into liabilities like a car, which isn't making you any money. If you want to buy a really expensive brand new car, you want to buy a supercar, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You should want to do those things. But you got to just make sure that you can afford it, because you need to understand what a car is. A car is a money pit. And so if you want to buy a money pit, fine. You just got to make sure you have the money to be able to afford the money pit and have it not affect you. If it's going to affect you financially, or if you're going to have to stretch yourself to afford this car, you shouldn't be buying this car right now. Right now, you should be buying something used with cash and take the monthly payment that you would have paid and pay yourself, buy yourself some assets, buy yourself some investments. That way you can build your wealth so you can afford the dream car that you want and not have to worry about the price. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, here's a video on why your car is keeping you broke. And while you're at it, subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our free finance and business newsletter. And as always, keep hustling. Leasing is almost never the smart financial decision, so leasing should be completely out of the question unless you are worth at least $1 million. Financing is never the smart financial decision when it comes to buying a car, because when you finance,